It's 10.8 billion rand moving through the market, and an interesting story playing out on the local market today. Falling back, we had a nice rally in the US market at the start of the trading day. So your thoughts on what we're seeing on the equity front right now?
Well, we had durable goods numbers coming in from New York, and they looked above expectations. But I think everyone's still waiting for that EU summit. I think the negativity coming through again with the commodities, which is very much based on global growth. We heard Angela Merkel say the other day that over her dead body there will be Eurobonds. I actually quite like to see that the people are starting to be more argumentative, and there's a bit of passion being shown by Angela Merkel there, and people are getting more expressive.
That? What does that mean? What does that mean for negotiations, and if there's even an end in sight to the EU problem?
Because decisions need to be made. Everyone seems to be tiptoeing. No one wants to upset anyone. Decisions need to be made. So maybe we'll see something coming from EU, and that's what traders are looking at the moment from the summit. And obviously commodities again, falling down on negative sentiment, and they're very, very volatile at the moment.
It's interesting if you look back on the month and at some of the stocks which have been under pressure. 10 of the stocks, so a quarter of the top 40 has fallen into negative territory, and Richemont stands out there, Steinhoff stands out, Sasol stands out. So what are some of the trends when you're seeing some of the stocks which are trading lower?
Well, look where those companies have exposure. Richemont, most of their growth has been coming from China. When China make less washing machines because Europe aren't buying them anymore, those washing machine manufacturers are going to make less money, and those rich owners are going to buy less Richemont goods. That's the kind of view that investors have. Sasol, same thing. Obviously, the oil price has come down a huge amount, and that directly affects the oil price. Steinhoff have massive exposure to Europe through furniture in France. So I guess that's where that negativity is coming from. Still lots of worries about Europe. And this is going to be an ongoing theme until we finally get some decisions, until we finally get some certainty. But I think it's creating good buying opportunities, because at the end of the day...
That's always the case. I mean, for a stock picker, for someone who's looking at value, it's time to come into the market. So where are you looking right now?
There's lots of value at the moment. I actually tweeted today that I saw Nuro Rubini on the screens for the first time in a while, so it's time to buy. There are definitely lots of opportunities there. I think now is a very good time to be getting into Richemont. I think that growth is going to carry on going. Luxury goods seems to be very defensive, and that trend is going to, China's still growing at 8%, and it's a massive economy. So it's coming off a high base. So I don't see why people are so worried. I actually saw a very interesting report coming through from BHP Bulletin, which had a look at the trends in markets going from developed to developing in terms of their commodities demand. And it's true that steel demand does plateau, but copper actually increases as the economy becomes more developed, and then the demand for energy and food is more linear. So I guess that the moral of that story is that you have to be more diversified and be able to cover all bases. So maybe that's one of the reasons Kumba was down so much today.
Yeah, interesting that we're looking at that Kumba share price, but of course you mentioned China, so that leads us on to the next topic, which is Naspers. Tencent is doing really well for Naspers, so 752 million users, so still below where Facebook is right now. But overall, your thoughts on those numbers? What was it, 15% in full year earnings growth?
Well, Tencent actually makes more money than Facebook. They've managed to monetize their users very successfully.
How do they do that? It's an interesting story to tell.
Yeah, they have, it's virtual gaming, and, it's become this massive, huge cult in China where everyone communicates via that platform, and they play games together, and they buy virtual money with real money. So, they've really managed to grasp that Chinese consumer. But in general, we really do like the Naspers business model. I watched Koosbeck on TV earlier, and, he doesn't look like the kind of guy who would be going around buying these exciting internet companies, but he's proven time and time again that he has the knack to find these little gems, and it's a very exciting theme. It's internet and e-commerce and so on in developing markets. I mean, what more would you want from a company? Yeah. I guess the biggest worry is about valuations, but
yeah,
I think
that's what I was going to bring up. I mean, a PE of 46 right now. What do you think about that company at that PE?
I don't think you should value the company in terms of its earnings. I think you should have a look at the sum of the parts.
So price to book you'd be looking at?
Yes, my colleague Sasha did a bit of an analysis today, looking at the results, and he came up with a valuation of about 250 billion rand market cap that it should be if you sum up all the parts, and that's giving the multi-choice business about a 10 PE, and then obviously you've got the market caps of Tencent and Mail.ru, and then the market cap is at the moment about 190 billion. So you've got a 25% discount. So I think that's the way you've got to look at Naspers. Not to mention the fact that it's actually a very exciting industry, and a lot of these internet companies do attract attractive or very high valuations. But I can understand it.
Certainly buying up e-commerce firms, so something to watch, and how they managed to assimilate those acquisitions. That was Byron Lotter joining us from Vestact.